Hello and welcome to Season 4 of oNiD in 2025. We're here for next Thursday iRacing League. We have the SimHound GT3 Transatlantic Showdown. We have a North America versus European battle. All of our drivers taking GT3 cars from either 3 manufacturers in Europe or 3 North American manufacturers. Over this 6-week season, we'll be going to 3 North American tracks and 3 European tracks. You get the idea from that, surely. And joining me for this season and directing us through it, it is the wonderful Aidan Hard. How are you doing?
We're back again. Yes, who's
we
back?
are back again.
Back again. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do any more dirty references again. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to oNiD Racing, and indeed we are here for the first race of Season 4, Daytona International Speedway, just shy, or just over actually, 5.5 kilometers long. A lovely toasty 29 degrees temperature today. Lovely conditions, all dry racing. We are in qualifying. Cars are out on circuit. Quarter of an hour qualifying with a 1 hour 10-minute race for us to dive into. No enforced pit stops, but there'll probably be a pit stop with a fuel tank limit of 70%. Fuel save your way or push it and get a splash and dash in the middle of it. Who knows what will happen. Strategy will come into play very shortly, as we do have some times on the board. Shahabi currently leading the way, 145.167, and there's some gaps there that are looking a bit funky. That looks a little bit better now. There we go.
It is also worth mentioning, drivers only have 3 laps in qualifying, and the tyres that they're using in qualifying are the tyres they will have to start our 70-minute race with. So you want to take care of your tires, don't want to have a spin on them, don't want to damage them. Take care of them, as they may have to do you the entire race unless you elect to change them at the your not required, not mandatory pit stop, but is a necessary pit stop to make the end of the race, as Ada mentioned, with the reduced fuel tank to 70% capacity. Al-Shahabi still top of the times as we see more times come in. Norinsky just 14 thousandths off on their second lap. And Shahabi comes through and improves once again into the 44.723, 4.5 tenths clear of Norinsky now, as we see plenty more times in. 19 drivers with a valid lap at the moment. Plenty more times that we're expecting. We have a field of 32 joining us tonight. So let's see who will end up on top. And we do, she mentioned over in the championship, the drivers fighting within their continental classes. So we have a European battle and a North American battle, the overall championship, of course, and then the Europe versus NA battle, sort of team battle, you could say. So it'll be interesting to see which of the world regions is able to come out on top. Currently seeing more times come in. Shahabi's still top of the leaderboard now. It's Pakativ has gone to second place. Watching Alfie Flecken come up to the board. They put themselves 22nd, 2.3 seconds off the top time from Shahabi.
The times are coming thick and fast. We see at the bottom of the screen as we are trying to keep track of every lap as they come. P6 just coming to the line shouting. Doesn't improve. Stays 0.067 off his best time. Pifus doesn't improve either. Victor Narlinski will come to the line and he will jump up to third. Does Victor Narlinski, and I think that's his final lap there. Done and dusted it is. As we do have some times coming in. Let's go back and try and catch a time a bit more further down the field as we see purple sector for Matty Watts, who's about to come to the line. This is solo qualifying, so all the cars have to track themselves and they are all just trying to put in the best laps they can. That's hence why they're coming a bit thick and fast as we're trying to keep track of all of them. As oh god, I'm going to try to pronounce that name. Noah Osbaldson goes to 21st. Williams 27th, pips a time in for his first lap. P7 was that a time there for a Baktev. Some new names coming into this season.
Yes, plenty of unfamiliar names, but welcome names to say the least. I believe we've got Alfie Flecken now on our screen again, coming up to the line to complete their second flying lap. They will have one more. Also got Aidan Carter, Adrian Rich and Dan Tomlinson all coming up to the line. Let's see where they will slot into. Alfie Flecken goes up to P18. Aidan Carter, purple final sector, will go from P10 to P10. I don't think gained a position there. Dan Tomlinson will sit 27th after that lap. Mike Pfeiffer's coming across the line will put themselves 25th with that lap time. Ben Royal now next to cross line, currently sitting in 17th position, and they will actually, I think that was not sure that was a valid lap.
I don't think it was. Now all the top runners bar P5 that we're currently following, Daniel Chavez, as you see his time, car 555, just at the bottom of the screen. Do have a couple of cars just popping up into time. Ben Brown goes 19th. Chavez will now come to the line, personal best first sector, but dives for the pits, calls it quits and says, you know what, not going to improve, let's just do a practice pit stop. Alfie Flecken will now go for his third and final lap as he comes around the final turn. Doesn't elect to go to the pits. Obviously good enough for him to try and attempt to make an improvement. Actually no, I stand corrected, that is the chicane he's going through. It's not the final turn. A little while left for him to finish the lap. the corners look the same here, okay? I'm sorry. So
I don't blame you. The ovals are
ovals are
boring.
weird. I mean, oh my god. Alfie will go to the line now. He's going to go through the final corner. Will he dive for the pits? He's looking like he's going to stay on circuit. And indeed he is. He will finish this lap. See if it is an improvement. Sectors don't look too great for him right now. As he comes to the line, will it still be P20? It will absolutely still be P20. That was a very shocking lap. J_and thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the community. Good to have you. As we now just await final times to come onto the board. Mike Pfeiffer's 146.427. See what Philip Staples will do as he comes to the line. Final laps coming up on the board. Ben Brown also in 19th, just about to finish his lap as well. We'll stick with Philip, and actually Ben's got another lap to go. He'll have enough time to set it, but yeah, very late in the day. Phallus27 also followed us. Oh, thank you very much for the support tonight, guys. Pleasure to have you. Welcome to the stream. Round 1 of 6 here for Season 4 on oNiD of the iRacing GT3 Championship. Ben Brown does get to line. It's P8. Good lap from Ben, and he gets to go again. Mike Pfeiffer's is going for another lap, so is Philip Staples. I think Philip actually
Has used.
No.
Yeah, they've used their allotted laps and are opting to continue for some additional practice. Ben Brown, though, I think the last of our drivers out on track that has a valid lap to set. It's a personal best opening sector, but not an improvement in the second of 5 sectors we have around this Daytona road circuit. Now towards turn 6, left-hand hairpin that leads us back onto the oval. Again, not improving in the 3rd sector. Trying to look at these times, is not far off. Has lost by 10th in the 2nd, 10th in the 3rd sector compared to their best sectors. So as Ben makes her way round the first oval corner, turn 7. We'll get the 4th split. It is a personal best. So it'll be all by having a good run through the chicane, which it looks like they do so in their Acura. Now it's flat out to the line, just hoping you've carried enough momentum off the chicane to carry you to the start finish. And as he comes up to the line, we wait for the time. Currently sitting in P8 within 4/10 of the top time. Improves in the final sector. Improves their lap time, but it's not enough for them to gain any positions. They will start P8.
Indeed they will. And that, folks, I believe is qualifying done and dusted. You just wait for everyone to finish off their laps. I think we are now just awaiting the server to transfer over. It's quarter an hour qualifying, so there is a couple of minutes left on the clock. It's just a matter of if anyone is still out on track, preventing things from proceeding.
No, I think we're just going to let the session run out just another minute before our drivers will get underway. They can think about how they want to approach this upcoming session. How much fuel do they want to start off with? How much are they going to be taking at their pit stop? Do they change to a new set of tyres, or do they not? We don't know exactly what strategy we're going to see from everyone. So hearing from what we've heard, thinking it might be a one-stop, but the drivers are allowed to have 2 tyre changes. Ben confirming in chat that it's a fixed fuel start because the series is running fixed setups, with the recent iRacing update bringing in a new GT3 tyre model. Our organisers have decided, oh yeah, why could not be a better time to use the GT3 cars, which we've seen throughout many sims that we've raced on oNiD. And instead of, while the sort of everyone's figuring out their setups, let's just make it a little bit easier for our drivers. Fixed setup as they learn the new tyre model.
Indeed, and we will go through the results for qualifying as session does take over. Shahabi on pole position, followed by Shoutin. Nook. Oh god, some of these names are going to be a task for me to see this season. Thomas Wright, Daniel Chavez, Marley Watts, Victor Narninsky, Ben Brown, Elias Baktev, Ben Holmes, Carter Stock, Kolodinaski. Wow. Okay, butchered that. Cleaver, Orlov, Bottleston, Earl, Gamby, your top 18. And don't be fooled, folks, there is a complete another page. What wonderful numbers we have tonight. The 19th is Benwell, Alfie Fleckin, 20th, Elector, 21st, Kozlov, 22nd, Osbalsdeston. This is your entertainment from the evening, me trying to pronounce these damn names. 23rd, Renoa, Jory Scora, 24th, Pifers, 25th, Terry, 26th, Rich, 27th, and Tomlinson in 28th position.
And I believe we have a few more, do we not?
29, Charlie Morgan. Terry Williams in 30th, Staples 31st, and Morrigan in 32nd. Now that is everyone, I promise you guys. Oh, the sound of cars rumbling away on the grid as they are gridding up ready to go racing for this, I believe, is a rolling start. It is. The cars get away from the chicanes. Pace car leads them. Headlights are on. It's very almost dusk here at Daytona.
Yes, sun setting, beautiful sunset here at Daytona. And it does seem like the sun has already just set, so it won't be getting into the driver's eyes, thankfully for them. But not long set, enough that we have still a fair amount of light being shone across the track.
Yep,
but our drivers' headlights will keep the track illuminated as they carry on for the next 70 minutes. Our race this evening. 2 by 2, 16 rows deep as they come round the final oval turn towards the start-finish line now. Plenty of laps coming up. Which strategies will prevail? Who'll be fastest? It's Alex Shahabi on pole with the Ferrari. Janice Shelton alongside in the Ford Mustang. It's Europe versus America off the line, and we're green here for our first race of the GT3 Transatlantic Championship into T1. Deminic is going down the inside of Shelton to take P2 as the Mustangs fight through the first couple of corners into the little chicane. Looks like everyone's keeping it clean in the background through chicane. That's one car spinning, and that's Thomas Wright in the Chevrolet getting spun. Hits the left-hand side Armco wall and gets going. Doesn't look like they have too much damage, but just trying to find a bit of space to rejoin into. As we have another couple of cars, a couple of Mustangs off into the grass at the International Horseshoe, and now making our way to fast left-hander. Wright has got going again. There's another couple of cars. Matt Cleaver involved, dropping down in their Acura. You can see some suspension damage there as they try and pull away the car, getting a little being knocked out of alignment. But back out front, Alex Shahabi still leads the way. Top three breaking away from the rest of the field as we see Marley Watts into the runoff, coming up back onto the oval. They've dropped down to 30th place.
Eek. So things happening at this early stages of the race, but for now it's Shahabi that leads. And the gap is 0.4 of a second.
As we know from previous races here, the slipstream is very strong. We can see that between the two Mustangs. Shelton closing up to Dominic, but we can see here Clyde Dazin. Yeah.
I'm glad you had a chance
apologies.
to say it.
Dropping down the order with spin at the bus stop. We've had Matt Cleaver into to the pits. I believe they've towed to the pit lane as we're starting the second lap here. Dominic has held on to second place, and Norinsky has got themselves in front of Ben Bryant for P4. Lots of drivers swapping positions as they come across the start-finish line into T1. We go through all of them, but there's just too many to do so. Biggest losers from the start: Thomas Wright down 16th places from where they started. Daniel Chavez down 18. Marley Watts 22. Koladazine down 16. And then in the pits, Bakativ down 21 and Matt Cleaver down 17.
I'm going to try and get some replays. This is Thomas Wright on lap 1. And oh boy, he's already sideways going out the exit of the corner. And does he get clouted? He does. Not quite sure who that was. It just encouraged him back around again. But that is, ooh, that's a nasty shunt into the back of the wall.
Hopefully the bumpers absorbed most of that contact. Fortunately, replay not quite early enough to tell whether it was a spin jumping over the curb beside the pit wall or whether they got an assistant from another car. As we see our leaders through the bus stop chicane for the second time this race. Shahabi not able to break away too much, but Demnick not staying close enough behind to get a good powerful slipstream. As we see, Ben Holmes has had heavy contact. The rear end of that let's see, of that Chevrolet completely destroyed. You can hardly tell that it is a Chevrolet, but they'll limp back to the pits. Thankfully it's not too far. That rear end completely missing.
See what happened. Nice slow-mo replay, why not? Oh, it's a slide!
Yeah, just rear end completely got away from them. Ooh. Heavy into the wall. Like them tear the rear, the engine cover as the bumper bounces back onto the track. It looks like most people were able to avoid that.
He's had another spin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tow. That is absolutely gutting for Ben. Still got an hour and 5 minutes to go, inclusive of a tow. So, get back out, never know what can happen. Hopefully see him back out very soon.
Hopefully, but being so close to the pit lane, that's got to be gutting for Ben Holmes to have to tow such a little distance. But we return to the top three. Shelton dropping back a little bit from Dominic. As further back we have Flecken, who was just within the top 10, has gone for a spin. Trying to see where this is. This is coming on to the oval, coming out of turn 6, I believe.
I have a feeling that it may be just himself that caused that. Let's have a look and see what happened. Went onto the oval from the infield, car number 5. And that's too much right foot. A bit of a mind punt from the car behind, potentially filling up the wing mirrors and maybe a little bit too eager to get on the power.
One of the caveats with fixed setup is drivers are not able to change their TC settings, so Fleckman probably just not happy with the TC level they're having to run. And yeah, just a little bit too much right foot. Normally you can maybe get away with it when you're comfortable with the TC level and able to adjust it to your liking, but in this case that's not an option for them, and they have lost out.
That Ferrari went bunny hopping over the curb there as he's trying to fight for P7 and P8. Have had another couple of cars down the order. Tomlinson finding the exterior wall at turn 1. Oh, and it's another car spinning in sympathy. Oh dear. Dan's gone back to pits, and I believe that was hello, Diazini. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. We'll get the pronunciations at some point, I'm sure. But having a spin, maybe in reaction to the BMW that you saw stopped on the outside of the circuit, and that is going to be another issue for them to deal with. But they get going again. We'll go back to midfield battle, 11th, 12th, 13th, quite close together. As we see Nigel Scott fighting away for position as a Corvette on the outside of Bottleson, who are now side by side in the oval. In the background, Kozlov in the McLaren also wanting to try and get some action as they go down to the chicane. The Mustang on the inside with Corvette on the outside, and Ford goes No, I've got the power. I'm gonna get through. There's nothing you can do about it. And that was a very accurate description of what a car sounds like in GT3. No, anyway, as Nigel lives to fight another day. Bottas will have to stay put for a little while longer, but is under threat from a car behind of Kozlov in that Ferrari. It's actually potentially got a little bit of a run here, going down into the start finish in turn 1.
In the slipstream after the Corvette took it easy coming into the bus stop. They're not taking it easy into T1. Up the inside goes the McLaren of Kozlov, and that is P12 for them. But Tolfson's trying to come back and is going to send it to the inside of the International Horseshoe. Gets it stopped on the apex and will reclaim P12. That's allowing Nigel Stock to get a bit of a gap in the Mustang, and now Kozlov is going to come under pressure from Ben Royal, who's looking to the outside of the kink here, but in the end backs out and will come under pressure from the Porsche behind him of Gambi in 15th position. This train, of course, if you make one mistake, get held up a little bit, you're just giving an opportunity to the car behind you to make a move. It's a bit of either pass the car in front of you or be passed while trying to do so. But they're onto the oval now, into the slipstream. Kozlov with that has dropped a second back from Butolfson, so won't have any slipstream of their own. Could be under pressure here from their fellow McLaren driver as they close up into the bus stop now. Are they on the brakes for Ben Royal? Maybe trying to back off a little bit and then carry more speed through the bus stop. Is a twitch from the McLaren from Kozlov, and they throw it into the wall, get the car spun round again. Careful with the rejoin as the fellow competitors come through the bus stop, but just a small little moment, I think too much grass going through the bus stop and settled the car, and a slide into the wall. Heavy contact as we go up further in front. Nigel Stock trying to take P10 from Uri Schroer here, who's also going to be passed by Butolfson, who's trying to hang it the long way round through T1, but it's too long for a round and spins it on the exit into the pit wall.
Again, fixed setups for this season. They can't control the TC. Are people not liking the fact they have to be gentle with their right foot? Potentially not. That is a spin and a shunt into the wall. He's going to have to wait for a gap. There's a gap coming now. After this car, for about 30 seconds, there was plenty of time to get the car turned back around again. And that is from bad to worse for Bottelson.
Yeah, they were doing well, fighting just outside the top 10. Unfortunately, it's going to be a bit of a recovery drive. We're only 10 minutes into the race, so still 1 hour to go. Of course, got a bit of strategy in play to this race with limited fuel tanks and the tyres that they have carried over from qualifying. But we're currently looking at Ivan Orlov currently in P8, trying to chase down Noah Osbaldiston, who set the fastest lap of the race last time round, and I believe just got themselves past Orlov for 7th place. Next up would be Ben Brown on their list, but there's a good 4.5 second gap for Noah to chase down, though having made up 16 positions already this race. That could very well happen with a long way to go in this race. Meanwhile, out front, Alex Shahabi still leading the way, setting a new fastest lap and change of position for the podium. Aidan Carter has chased down Shelton and got themselves up into P3 as we see issue here for Osbaldiston at T1, drops down a few positions. Let's get replay here as they come off the oval into T1. Tricky braking zone, probably one of the hardest in the fight. Just gets to the inside, just takes the McLaren around, doesn't go for a full spin, but that massive slide sideways on the tyres will not do them any good for the remainder of this stint.
Nope, not at all, not in the slightest. Now, as we said, with pit stops today, fuel tanks are limited to 70%, so as we said at the start, either you put your foot down and do a pit stop, or maybe do a bit of left and coast, sit in a slipstream, try and make the tank last. However, I don't think 70% tanks will last, either with all the best will in the world of slipstream, lift and coast, and trying to keep the pace up. It'll be a hard task.
Well, be indeed. Luckily for us, Bolston, that we watch with Ashley, they've not lost too much time, only lost 2 positions. That to John Earl and Ivan Orlov, who are fighting side by side into the bus stop. John Earl takes P7 from Orlov, but Orlov will have the slipstream as they come back onto the oval from the chicane towards the start-finish line. Looks like the Porsche, though, in front has a little bit more momentum, but surely they'll swing the other way with the slipstream as they head towards the start-finish line. That gap now starting to close. Yellow Ferrari closing in. We'll have to go to the outside here, but looks like they've maybe backed off a little bit. They know what happened last lap, the contact between them and the McLaren behind them, as we have a car off in the runoff. I think that's one of our lapped cars who's had
Thomas
issues
Wright.
this race so far. Thomas Wright.
He's returned to pits.
Yes, the car was sitting in the runoff at T1. Let's see how that happened. Braking for T1. Turned the car in, just lost the rear end, went to correct it, but overcorrected themselves and found that outside tire barrier that separates turn 1 and T7.
That was ringing in my ears quite a lot because it seemed like he was stuck at full throttle as he was in the wall. So I do wonder if there was a bit of a hardware failure there. That's a car. What in the world is that car doing there?
Is that Janice Shelton who's dropped down the order a bit? No, I don't think it is. But Shelton in Ford Mustang just in front has had issues. Was recently passed. Philip Staples in the wall, but Shelton was previously passed by Ian Carter recently for P3, but has now found themselves in P6. Here is a replay of Philip Staples coming out onto the oval from turn 6. Again, loses the rear end on traction, spins sideways, tries to recover the car, but just slides up into the wall. Does get the car stopped before they hit the wall, and they have to wait for the cars to go by.
What a peculiar situation. That was random. Well, at least we figured out how the car got there in the first instance, but he's got going again, and we'll continue. Just have a look at this replay from John Shelton, as he's going to have an instant at the same place as well.
Yeah, same corner is under traction again.
Yes.
Yeah, just car goes much more sort of vicious spin, finds the gap and gets the car going again, but yeah, does lose a bit of time and a few positions. Will be coming under pressure soon by John Earl, who's within a second of them now, and go be getting a bit of a 4-car train here soon as those drivers close up.
Speaking of a train, there's actually a train forming as we speak in the midfield, should I say. This is, we're following Ben Royal in the McLaren. He's now trying to chase down Jory Skora for P11. However, up ahead, Noah dropping down a position once more, and that is John Earl dropping. What has happened to you, John Earl? Let's have a look. He gets going again.
No rear wing.
Oh, it's turned itself into a bit of a drag car.
And that's coming onto the oval again. I wonder if they've done the same thing.
Oh,
lost the car under traction.
Please don't spin if you've got a loss of downforce on the rear. Please be showing a meatball flag.
Gets through relatively well for not having a rear wing, but here is replay. Unsurprisingly, following the Mustang that had a spin last lap, John Earl through the left-hander, runs out a little bit wide, and again just loses rear end, clips the wall, and it knocks the rear wing clean off. And that is going to be a pit stop. You can see them coming towards pit entry.
Because that would have been absolute chaos if he went through turn 1 without a rear wing. But thank God he's probably got a meatball flag from iRacing and saying, come on now, get to the pits, get a new rear wing, and you've done goofed to get some repairs. Jump back up to near the top of the table, all of chasing Osbolston. I'm going to struggle to say. They're chasing Noah for 7th. There we go, Noah, nice and simple name to try and pronounce. Ivan Orlov chases. Was getting a little bit closer, but then the gap has opened up again. So the McLaren also finding enough pace around here. Aiden Carter.
Issues for Aiden Carter.
Dropping
Same
indeed.
corner again.
oNiD Racing Zone Aiden Carter having an issue. And is it just the right foot? I think it might be. Bit of curve, bit of right foot, turning in. Car doesn't like it and throws a hissy fit.
I wonder, it's just as the tyres wear out a little bit, if drivers are getting a little bit wider and wider through that corner, and then they're getting off the grippy racing line where the rubber's being laid down, and just so they're expecting the grip to still be there, but they're just off it. Wheels spin up and car goes round. That is my theory to why we're seeing so many cars going round, and we have an issue for Daniel Chavez.
There he is.
No surprise, exited turn 6.
It's only been 17 odd minutes. Haven't turned up the fuel. Haven't turned up the tyre wear. We turned up the. Well, we limited the tanks to 70%. Is it just they're struggling to find traction because it's fixed setup?
Yeah, it could be. It is. Where conundrum? Actually, apologies. This is coming out of the bus stop chicane.
Yes, he does get a bad run. He was about to save it, to be in his defence. He was just tagged around by, and he was encouraged around by the Porsche. How unfortunate. Well, good props to him for staying low. He did pick up gravel. It's been spread, but it's not been spread on the oval. That's fine. We'll give him some brownie points for that, at the very least.
Yeah, making sure to rejoin safely. Unfortunately, yeah, just had that moment and can get car slowed down. As we see Victor Norinsky this time is at turn 6. Major front end damage. They were up in P3 not too long ago.
Well,
this is them coming. Yeah, I can see by the board on the front windscreen. And again, just loses rear end under traction. And then, yeah, as you say, collected by the car in P4.
Who in the world was that in P4? And Victor's quite, well, taking a very interesting line. Doesn't have to take that much of a dramatic line through that corner to avoid, because he's going to spread a lot of stuff on the oval, and he does pick up a lot of gravel.
A car sparking away with the damage it has.
Ben Brown.
Oh, unfortunate for Ben, just wrong place, wrong time.
You see the front of that car is just flattened. And again, he's scraping. You see the sparks on the front right. Daytona proving a bit of a handful for some. 20 minutes in, 12 laps in. Your leader currently, Alex Shahabi, followed by Lennart. There we go. I'll give up. Carter third. Noah fourth. Shouting fifth. All of sixth. Nigel Stock seventh. Benwell eighth. Squirrel ninth. Marley Watts rounding up your top 10. You've still got 50 minutes to go. I'm very happy.
Plenty of time to go, as you say. I wonder how many more spins we'll see coming out of turn 6. You'd hope that most of the drivers have seen one of the moments from one of their competitors and realised, okay, right, just take it a little bit easy. As we see, there's issues for Nigel Stock, has dropped down a few places, down to P11 now, having been promoted into the top 10 after others' misfortunes, and Kozlov also dropping down the order, so more drivers having issues.
This turn onto the oval, it's catching people out again. Look, we're going to replay for Kozlov. Car 35, all neat and tidy. Maybe not. Just traction, isn't it? It's just the right foot.
Yeah, rear end stepping out. And yeah, rear tires say no. Will not have the grip, will not have the traction. And I imagine it's possibly a similar story for Nigel Stock. He lost a few places at a similar time. Meanwhile, they'll check in with our leaders out in from Alex Shahabi and Dominic by just over half second, separating the pair of them for first and second. They've been trading lap times. Gap has closed in and opened up. And so it's fairly similar to what we've seen earlier on. The difference between their fastest laps of the race, just 1/100th of a second in favour of Shahabi. But yes, both those drivers showing similar pace, neither holding the fastest lap of the race. So that goes to the driver in 4th place, Noah Osbaldeston, in the McLaren, who is about 15.5 seconds back from the lead, trying to close in on Aidan Carter for P3, who they're nearly 3 seconds behind. But last lap was 3/10 slower than Aidan, so not closing in too much. We'll jump down to the bottom end for the top 10. Uri Short behind Marley Watts was a little bit quicker last lap. Will be in the slipstream too as they head through the bus stop chicane now. A little bit of grass for the Porsche on the exit. Does Shorey in the McLaren have the momentum with the assistance of the slipstream set? Personal best lap of the race last time around. And with the aid of some slipstream, might be able to go a little bit quicker this lap, as we've had issues for a driver from 2nd place. Dominic has dropped to 3rd place despite the 10-second gap they had. Looks like it might have been issues into T1.
Ask and thou shall receive. Answer we shall now see. Into turn 1 on the right foot, and the Mustang goes, whoa, what the hell are you doing? And that became a very awkward rolling roadblock there. And it is able to get going before anything comes, and then P3 comes and takes it away from him. But that is a lucky escape.
Yeah, that being Aidan Carter now up to 2nd place, and as you say, lucky to have that gap. We've seen some of the drivers have spun in awkward spots, having to wait for a train of cars to pass them, and the time lost goes from being about 5 or 10 seconds to 20 odd seconds as we cut to Mike Pfeifers, who was in the top 15, sitting at the wall of the 2nd hairpin. That's turn 5, the West Horseshoe.
Too much speed, or just the rear saying, why the hell are you sailing so quickly? I don't like it. We've seen with a lot of cars tonight, it's been rear end step out, can't catch it, and ends up in a bit of a calamitous error. Let's get going now.
I wonder if the drivers are struggling with differential settings in the fixed setup, as for Toy is the next driver to have issues, was in 21st, dropped behind Ben Brown and Norinsky as they recover. But we see this fight for the final place within the top 10. Nigel Stock trying to get past Falsetta. Falsetta on the inside with the McLaren. The Mustang trying to take a wide line into T1, doesn't work out the long way round, and we'll have to try again. Falsetta holding on to the final spot in the top 10.
Yes, that turn 1's a bit tricky. You see people go wide down. We had a joke when oNiD was racing in the 24 hours of Daytona that you can go wide down without penalty. We called it the esports line. The people that felt brave enough to go around the outside at such extent into turn 1, and it isn't paying off for people tonight. It paid off for some, but it's just this question over, is it because it's now dusk and going to night? Is the track temperature low? Are we seeing issues with that? I can tell you that the weather is still 25 degrees air, but 27 tracks, so the track temp's reasonably okay. We shouldn't have any concerns about tires losing pressure or temperature at all. The track still as it is. But it just raises a couple of questions of, is it just the fact that people can't use their own setup? As we see, Baton for Toei having an issue. Gets going again. This is at the start of the lap. What's happened to you, good sir?
Well, this is the first issue.
Well, this is earlier on, actually.
Recently.
No, exactly. This is the first issue he had going through onto the hairpin. Onto the oval, should I say? And just almost collects the car and gets going again. and then has a separate issue on the following lap into turn 4. And is that just oh, that was random. Almost like he thought he was going to have a spin, slams on the brakes and just floors the throttle, and then just has a spin anyway.
Yeah, really struggling with the McLaren is for Toy, and interestingly, with that first spin out of turn 6, the driver right behind him who just narrowly avoided it was Ben Brown, who we seen earlier did find someone spun facing the wrong way at that very corner. We've been getting some PTSD flashbacks, but yeah, luckily staying out of trouble this time. Ben Brown in 21st position, having taken a pit stop already, I believe.
Indeed he has.
Alright. Yep, as you say.
Ooh, John Earl. Again, having another... When the world is that? That is... the sector? It is. Pit exit. See what's happened. Is this just another issue of lack of grip? Or too much... lack of grip and too much right foot, to be perfectly honest. That's how, like, I think he actually dips the tyre onto the curb and unsettles the car. That's not going to help his cause.
That's very late on into the corner. So a bit of an odd spin there, but yeah, it drops him down to 23rd. As Norinsky has got themselves in front of Ben Brown and into the top 20.
Yes, indeed. Let's see how that happened. Well, what if it actually... Let me find a replay. Norinsky passing Brown. Oh, completely missed that, but I can tell you. John Earl dropping down the order is promoted. Well up in position. We see John Earl on the edge there, and indeed gets past just Ben up into another position. So looking good for now. As,
yeah, we could tell there the move was just recently done, as the number board on the windscreens was yet to change around. I believe his car spinning. That is the Ferrari of Caladozani.
well,
Butchering that still, sorry.
Once more for me, Scotty.
I think we'll leave it the previous one.
Okay, cool. Let's see what happened to him. I think we're going to see a copy and paste of what's happened recently into turn 1. Oh, a bit of a wobble in the Verstappen.com liveried Ferrari, and goes, nope, I'm not liking that. What in the world is going on? And the Ferrari punishes the prancing stallion. Elects to bite.
Just taking that tighter line on the inside, unsettling the car. They'll get going again, but they'll have Butolfsson right on their rear bumper in the slipstream, closing and closing in. Butolfsson will have to go to the outside as Marley Watts gets themselves past Ben Royal for P7. Further in front, but into the bus stop. Ferrari just holding on in front for now. The Chevy putting the pressure on, gets a good exit, and will get to the outside. Do they have enough momentum though, or have they pulled over the slipstream too early? As there's an issue for Nigel Stock. They were trying to chase down Falsetta. They were fighting for P10, but it has gone wrong for Nigel Stock into T1. They've dropped down to 13th place, and they have Daniel Chavez looking for a way past. Here's a replay of what happened. Braking for T1. Just as they turn the car in, the rear end getting loose. They try and pick up the throttle, but the rear end was still sliding, and as such they didn't have the grip. Went for a full spin and give a good bonk of the front nose into the pit wall. As we see under pressure from Chavez as a plane goes into land in the background.
He's going to have so much damage on that front and rear end of that Mustang. He's going to be compromised so much. He does go wide, and perhaps he lets the move happen there for Chavez to get past. I do wonder if that's going to force a pit stop for him.
Once he started going wide there with the damage to the front end, just couldn't hold tight line. It was position gone already. It's Batolfson now with an issue, dropping places.
What in the world is he?
Down in 21st now with Norinsky and Ben Brown being promoted, heading out of turn 6 here.
Let's see what happens if we can get a replay of that. As there has been a bit of a big incident actually. It's 3 things that just pinged up on my screen. Tomlinson, Demichuk and Orlov all had a crash pretty much the same point. And I do wonder, there's been an incident to turn 1 and maybe collected each other somehow. Nope, that's just a separate incident on its own. Again, turn. Oh, that would explain it. Oh dear. I believe that was Orlov. Orlov, Ivan Orlov, who collected him in the yellow Ferrari.
Yes, these drivers were running 4th and 5th at the time of this incident. Fry just come round, found a Mustang, and didn't really have anywhere to go. Big contact, front end into front end. There goes the Mustang of Shelton back up to 4th position. And this was Dan Tomlinson coming through same corners into the International Horseshoe and just loses the rear end in the middle of the corner. Another car coming up, but they luckily get to the inside slide for the Chevy, exiting the Horseshoe there. And yeah, luckily Dan is able to get away before they are collected. Lots of drivers struggling in this race, and we are still yet to reach the halfway point.
Everyone now has reasonably spread out. There's a bit of a battle back further down the grid, but everyone, I say that, has now found themselves a bit of space. Closest battle you actually have is P18 fighting away and trying to get Ben Brown, trying to get up to Victor Nowinski for position. As Alfie Flecken goes to the pits.
Yes, first of our front runners to make a pit stop, or first of anyone really to make a pit stop that they've not made because of damage. So pitting as we approach the halfway mark. It'll be interesting to see how long this pit stop is and then compare that to some of the drivers around them.
Alfie is still in the pit. In his pit box, it's going to be off the jacks. Not immediately going, so there's damage. There's absolute damage, a little bit, as he now gets going and back away now.
28.25 seconds in the pit box for Flecken. So we'll have to see how that compares to the other front runners. And they will come out of the pits just about in 21st with Nigel Stock just in the background. And we'll have a good bit of clean air in front of them of about, let me see, 12 seconds as responding the very next lap. Noah in the number 24 McLaren, as well as Ivan Orlov in the number 16 Ferrari. So here do come the pit stops. I'll have to see how this shakes things out, how the strategies might diverge from each other, and then how they might converge back into each other later on.
Ooh.
But, that is a Porsche facing the wrong way. I think that was Flecken.
It's Flecken.
On the outlap, has a spin coming out of turn 5.
Oh dear.
Damage there. Is that someone's rear wing that was sliding across the grass there?
Here
they go for the spin. The Mustang. Oh,
there's a Mustang. It just clipped the Porsche as it went past.
I hope for the Mustang's sake. I believe that. I'm trying to figure out which Mustang that was. I think it was Nigel Stock, potentially. Yes, Nigel Stock. I hope for their sakes that is simply desync on our end as the rear wings just clipped each other. And luckily, it seems like the Porsche has a stronger rear wing than the Mustang.
Oh. As we see the lead, as we jump back immediately to live pictures, leader is in the pits. Now we said limited fuel tanks were the name of the game for this season, and indeed they are enforcing those pit stops happen. Aiden Carter also being followed in.
Yes, last lap we had 2 pit stops from Noah and Ivan Orlov. Both of them within a second of Flecken's pit stop time. So it looks like we're expecting to see pit stops around the 28.5-second mark. Plenty of the field is following in, so it seems like this is as far as you can get into the race on fuel. It is just over the halfway mark, so it might be essentially fill the tank back up to 70% and carry on.
Loads of them coming to the pits. Top 10 all in the pits. As Harvey's actually come back out in the lead. Because why not? Carter exits the pits in second. They will have cold tyres. They need to take it easy as they go out on their outlaps.
Yeah, and we see some of the drivers that pitted earlier from damage, such as Narinsky and Ben Brown, who both pitted on lap 11. They now find themselves in P5 and P6 respectively. Marley Watts just comes out in 7th place, right behind them.
Yeah, they do. As I think Noah there in P3, he's one of the biggest gainers. Although I think I stand correctly, he might have pit, yeah, he did pit when he was P3, so he's net zero, no gain, no loss. I thought he pitted a bit further down the field than that, to be perfectly honest. Obviously not.
Now, just pitted that lap earlier. So of those that just pitted in the last couple of laps, the shortest pit stop comes from Aiden Carter, 26.27 seconds. That's only really a couple of seconds shorter than everyone else. So it's maybe taking a little less fuel. I don't know whether that's just the Chevy being a little more fuel efficient than its rivals, or if they're maybe just fuel saving a little bit to try and save themselves that time in pit lane.
Interesting. Have had an incident, however, for Gamby. What's happened here? Oh, go to slow-mo actually. As I think we have another incident of not much throttle. Curb won't help either. Then around he goes into the wall. Does he save it?
No, momentum carries him down to the infield.
Whew.
And we'll get going. So now, after that round of pit stops, everyone in our field has taken a pit stop now. A couple of cars have made a second pit stop. Those obviously that had to repair damage earlier in the race. It'll be interesting to see if, I have to imagine, if everyone's pitting just after the halfway mark. I'd assume that is how far the 70% fuel tank has allowed them to go. In which case, those that pitted early for damage will have to make a second pit stop, which is going to be very detrimental for them in this race. Well, it looks like they might have been able to recover for now. It doesn't seem like they're going to be able to hold on to those positions.
Obviously not, sadly, as we see, and we do look at the people that have already lapped or stopped for pit stops 9th. 6th and 5th, to name a few. They'll have to stop again. So not completely out of it as of yet. We still expect some people to make stops, but we'll have to see what happens. Don't think an early stop will help people. Even if they had to pit for the tyres, you know, it's going to be an issue for them going forward, because purely it's just going to be Oh, they can't.
Ben Brown down the inside of Narinsky there, just as we
Ooh,
cut away into
apologies.
T1, taking P5 from the Chevy and to the inside. It looking as Watts getting the nose alongside, is left the space by Narinsky. Remember, it is one of those cars that made an early pit stop, but Narinsky holds it round the outside as they come towards the King, gets squeezed to the grass, just about enough space left for the Porsche. And the Porsche, are they going to send it in? They're thinking about it, they're trying to, but they're just not quite far enough alongside. Marley Watts is going to have to settle for P7 now. They want to get in front of Narinsky, as you know, we're thinking Narinsky and Ben Brown as well will have to pit again. So Marley Watts is really trying to get past the Parvley. He's trying to attack Shelton for P4, but is currently sitting with 2 cars in between the 2 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hold on to your hats. I'm not over yet. Let's see what these guys can do.
We will have to see what I can do. Of course, the slipstream offering plenty of opportunities, but an issue here. Shelton spun across the track, will hopefully get going again. I'm not sure if they collected a car there. I mean, it was Ben Brown that was right behind them in that Acura through the bus stop, and it was a car coming past, and Shelton just had to take a little bit of avoiding action, take a slightly tighter line than they're used to, and that just unsettled the car. Went for a spin, luckily avoided the wall, but has dropped down to P9 now. You have to imagine that spin on the tires is certainly going to have damaged them. John Earl making a place up, but we think they have to pit again as well. Ben Royal making a place up as well. So a few places lost for Shelton, unfortunately. Hopefully those tyres aren't too damaged, as we see Narinsky deep into the International Horseshoe and gives the place up to Marley Watts, who can now go chasing after Ben Brown, who's just over a second up the road. But more importantly, I would say, is in front of Shelton now and is in a net P4.
Very nice indeed. And I'm sure he'll take that with pleasure, as you see them continue to fight, as it is Marley gonna have to know he's got away with it. Looks like he's about to have another spin going into the oval there, as we'll go down into the back parts of the circuit. It'll go across the oval. It'll be the bus stop. Throws are blocked by the blocked by the stands there. And it's indeed able to keep ahead for now. I think we're okay for now with these guys, as they find their feet once more to get back. I think it's actually closing in Ben Brown quite nicely, is Watts.
Yeah, you could see slightly different lines. Narinsky going in a little bit deeper, a little bit wider out of the first apex, beat him on a tighter line through the second apex, and I think just allowed Watts to have a better run through the corner, opened the gap up. But Watts certainly on a bit of a charge now past Narinsky, is trying to chase down Ben Brown, and spin for Narinsky in the background, closes in, is sort of in the dirty air right behind the Porsche driver, unsells the car, and causes them to go for a spin. They'll drop down the order. We think they were already going to drop down the order with a second pit stop in their near future, but you see they're just not able to slow the car down. They try and turn the car in from the higher speed, and yeah, the car just says, no, I can't do that. Goes for a spin.
And what is incredible, Kiriko Kurami has just subscribed to the Twitch. Thank you very much for your support. You join us here in the latter parts of round 1 of the oNiD Transatlantic Showdown. Yeah, it's first of 6 rounds here for Season 4 on oNiD Community Racing. Thank you very much for your support. This car has just stopped on the side of the circuit, just to get out of the way there. That was a blue flag car, I do believe. The BMW of someone. It might have been actually a Ford. It probably looked more Ford than BMW. As Narinsky recovers from that spin he's just had. Let's go down to 13th, shall we, with Chavez. He's on the tail of Scora for 12th position now. Car behind these two, that pink car, is a lap down. We're going to ignore that as these two guys fight away. I do believe that is Matt Cleaver behind as, thinks about going to the inside, does the 555 Ford Mustang. McLaren cuts his nose off and will retain that 12th position. He's got a way to go to try and get that position back, as sorry, hasn't got much of a way to go to try and get that position back as Chavez. He's going to be in the slipstream, and look at that power of the Mustang, able to pull alongside. McLaren goes, yep, you've got the inside line, let's fight it in the corner. I believe I've gone better on the brakes, but the inside line takes precedent, and that's move done for Chavez.
Yeah, interestingly, Shorey not defending, not holding the inside line, maybe because Chavez was over a second quicker on the previous lap, 0.6 quicker that last lap as they get moved on. We see Flecken into the pits for a second time this race. They were one of the first cars to pit from our lead battle that didn't have to pit early for damage, but of course did have that spin on the right lap, and has opted for a second trip through pit lane. We also had Shelton, while we were watching the battle, Shelton passed Ben Royal for P7. He's now opened up a second gap and is trying to chase down John Earl just over 2 seconds in front of them. And Morley Watts has got themselves past as we see a replay here. Bit of contact, actually, as there were 4 cars concertinaing up. I think a lapped car involved in that as well. Yes, we can see. I think that
was actually the pass on Ben Royal. A bit of hip and shoulder through turn 4. It gets the moves done for position, and in the background, Ben Royal is now under threat. Is that for position? Or is that a car just trying to lap themselves?
I think that's a car trying to unlap themselves. I think. We've just seen. Is that for Toy? That is for Toy there. Meanwhile, we've also had Dominic, after an incident, spinning on the exit of T1 and being collected to get themselves in front of the 911 Ferrari. We also have Kozlov and Botolfsen fighting over 16th and 17th. It seems like Kozlov in the 35 McLaren has got the better of them now. As they come round the oval, Kozlov half second in front has got a good exit from turn 6, and Botolfsen will have to push on, or out of the bus stop, sorry, as they come across the start finish line now. They'll have to push on to try and close the gap a little bit as they get into the more technical first half of the lap. Slightly wider line on the entry to T1 from Botolfsen, as we also have Orlov dropping down the order. I think has made a mistake as Mike Pfeifers enters pit lane for their second pit stop of the race. So we cut to Orlov slow coming onto the oval. See a replay here into the infamous turn 6. Has claimed many a victim so far this race already. Add another one to that, trying to pick up throttle again. The yellow Ferrari takes a spin, finds himself stranded, spins the wheels up to turn the car round, and gets going again, but the loss of momentum drops him down from P9 down to P13 as Uri Shore gets past on the exit of the bus stop chicane.
Absolutely. So, 20 minutes to go. Your leaders at the minute: Shahabi, Carter, Osbaldeston, Watts, Brown, Earl, Shelton, Royal, Narnusi, Selector. Your top 10 as it stands. Pfeiffer's back in the pits. Oh, and he's not in the pits, in pit exit. He was in the pits, but the cold tire curse has hit the Acura there, and I think he's managed to keep it out of the wall.
I would be surprised if he has, spinning on that tight pit exit. We'll see if we can get a replay. This is them pulling out of their pit stall. Quite a long pit exit here as you make your way down the inside of T1. There is what you would think is the end of pit lane. It's the end of pit lane when you're on the oval, but you have to sit on the pit limiter as you travel through this pit exit on the inside of T1. Wall sends up a spin. That's a very odd spin luckily does avoid the wall and then has to try and get the car turned round quite awkwardly round there. If that's an intentional flick spin, to get yourself out of like an escape road, you'd think, oh, that's really well done. But no, that was a mistake, spinning the wrong way, trying to leave the pit lane. A bit embarrassing for them, but luckily they'll carry on with no damage except to how they've hurt the tyres. But we cut back to this battle for 12th place. Uri Shore behind Ivan Orlov, much faster through the bus stop chicane, but nowhere to go through the second part of it. We'll tuck into the slipstream now as they head round turn 12. Second part of the oval has dropped back a little bit, and having to have checked up in the middle of the bus stop doesn't have the momentum to make this move work as we watch this as well. But Tofson fighting alongside Kozlov. They'll be a little further up behind, coming round towards the bus stop. Into T1 for the battle on our screen for P12. The McLaren not close enough for a move, getting a little bit twitchy in the braking zone, but keeps it in a straight line as a car in front has not that. And Akura trying to see who that is. That's spun. I think that might be Matt Cleaver, and it is indeed. Gets recovering. It's already had a couple of issues this race, down in 24th place now as Mike Pfeiffer's makes their way past. They'll carry on. Luckily, Orlov and Shore are able to avoid them safely. But a little further back, Kozlov did manage to fight off Botolfsen and holds on to 16th place now. A little bit of a gap opens up between them as they come through T1.
The battle is brewing. The Ben Royal up in P8 trying to catch P7 of just shouting. In turn, I think it's actually trying to catch up with was that? It's not for position. I do stand correct. That's a back marker ahead of them, I believe.
I think that is Alfie Fleck, pardon me, in front, who pulls to the high line to that Royal through on the low line, to use some oval terms.
Indeed.
As John Earl comes in for a second pit stop this race. With just over 15 minutes remaining, we are coming to the closing stages of the race. Nice time if you want to push on to make any last places. Now is the time to do so. Got quite a few gaps throughout the field though, of course, as we've gone through the 54.5 minutes so far. A lot of mistakes up and down the field, most commonly found trying to exit turn 6. Also quite a few through T1 as well. But we'll see where John Earl slots out as they make their way down pit exit. We also have Matt Cleaver and the 911 Fry of Evgeny making their way for a third pit stop for both of those drivers. We have a fight on track actually. Chavez is caught up to Falsetta and is trying to make their way past. They're fighting through turn 6, both of them getting the power down and not spinning round. As into slipstream for the Mustang as they come round turn 7, oval T1 is going to look to the high line, doesn't have quite enough momentum. But as the track flattens out, they will draw alongside with the Mustang part. It's dead even as they break for the bus stop side by side. This rarely ends well, and the Mustang has to back out. Falsetta will hold on to P9 for now, but it's going to be another dose of slipstream as they come round to turn 12, the second part of the oval. The Mustang will have to go to the outside again, but it's a longer run towards the first braking zone of the lap, towards the start-finish line. Will Chavez be able to get their nose in front this time? How brave will they be on the brakes for the outside of T1? It's a difficult enough braking zone by yourself, let alone running side by side with the car with the lapped Mustang serve in the way. Gives a little uncertainty to Chavez, and they have to back on the brakes. struggle for traction for the McLaren. Chavez has a little wiggle of themselves, but they get themselves to the outside of the International Horseshoe, braking there, trying to send it all the way round the outside, but it's a little too long for the way round the outside. McLaren holds on for now, but the Mustang getting the power down will draw back alongside. It's the inside for the left-hand king. Does the McLaren brave it round the outside? They'll try and hold it there. It becomes the inside for the right-hander, but the Mustang cuts their nose off entering the braking zone, but runs it in too deep. Can the McLaren get back to the inside? No, Mustang holds on, gets to the apex, and will start to drive on away with P9, but McLaren will have some slipstream if they can get a good exit out of T6, which is a very difficult feat, as we've seen throughout this race, which they've not quite able to do. The Mustang pulls a little bit of a gap. The McLaren is not going to be close enough to try and challenge the Mustang back into the bus-stop chicane.
Stays put for now, and I think that's battle done and dusted. It's Battle Bottleson fighting away with Debijunk. I'm butchering these names. As Lennart and Runar both fighting away, as Lennart able to get P17. And that's a send up the inside! And they're going to
bury this send.
Indeed it is. Time still delivered from Runar as there's a slight touch as Ben Brown's in the pits, as we predicted. One of the leaders having to pit again.
I remember Dominic was fighting for in second place earlier this race before they made a mistake out of T1, and in the recovery drive, Batolfson said, even if you were fighting for second earlier and they're quicker than me, I'm going to try and hold on to this place. I'm not going to give it up easily. And that was a big send into turn 5. Couldn't quite get themselves far enough alongside to make it work, and really just held them up a little bit. And it has not taken Dominic long at all to get to the next car. Kozlov in the Ferrari, just 2 tenths separating them in the slipstream, as John Earl has had an issue. I want to say that is into T1, but with the gaps opening up as they are, should get away before they lose any places. Towards T1 now, to the outside goes Dominic. As they come also coming up to a lapped car, 3 left-hander.
Pipers, I do believe.
McLaren will hold on for now. 11 minutes left in the race. Mustang looking to the inside for the International Horseshoe, though just was not quite close enough. Will be trying to get a good exit as they run towards the West Horseshoe. First, through the kink, left-hander, the Mustang holds out wide, looks to the inside. Will they send it in? They're there on the brakes, but they're not close enough to get alongside, as we see Norinsky from P6 pull into the pit lane for their second stop of the race, having pitted early for damage in the race.
And you know what? These two are fighting. I just realised the car ahead of them is actually the race leader. So that race leader is actually being caught by these guys. You know they're fighting, but still inside line on the low end of the oval, and that is moved done. Or Lennart on Kozlov. Kozlov will potentially have an answer going through the bus stop. As again peeks out the slipstream later on the brakes. That was close.
That was risky. Dominic got the run, got the traction out of turn 6, got the car turned to the inside, which made a fairly easy move with the Mustang power, but it's going to have to defend. He's running a very high line here from the McLaren, giving off the slipstream. McLaren pulls down to the inside, but the Mustang trying to carry the speed off of the top of the oval. Has it worked out for them? No, it has not. If anything, looks like the Mustang is lifted off the throttle ever so slightly and tucked back into the slipstream of the McLaren. Maybe thinking about move into under braking for T1, but not close enough. It's going to have to try the move again. Gets good traction off of T1, gets themselves alongside through turn 2. Will be the outside for the International Horseshoe at turn 3. Has got themselves in front, holds the McLaren to the tight inside line, but the McLaren had the traction initially, but the car breaks out under them and they go for a spin off turn 3. We've seen plenty of spins under traction, rarely from T3, and interestingly return to the pits.
Oh, that's not going to go down well. If that's a bit of a rage quit there, that's a shame, but it does return to the pits. I think through the bus stop where he was, that McLaren was on the inside. I think that Ford, the Mustang, may have cut the corner and caused a slowdown, hence why he went high through the oval, all of into the pits. As we expected, some of these drivers that did pit early in the race are having to pit again just for a quick splash and dash. We'll see these guys just come into the pits, take a bit of fuel, I'm sure, and then go back straight back out again. Or is this a drive-through? It's a drive-through.
Interesting. Only 3 off tracks for Orlov popping up on our timing screen. We don't get to see how many instant points they've picked up for contact. Yeah, drive-through pit lane drops them down to 13th position. Also covering off other drivers we've seen pitting. Ben Brown with that second pit stop dropped down to P10, but has caught and passed Uri Shore, who I believe has actually made a mistake since then. They've dropped nearly 9 seconds back from the Acura driver. Ben, the highest placed driver in the Acura at the moment.
Indeed. Don't really see that car very often, do we? On iRacing, the Acura. Is it just a fancy Honda? Can't quite remember.
Yes, Acura is the American sports brand of Honda.
Tis indeed.
So yes, of course. Maybe when we get back to Europe, we'll call it a Honda over there. In the later part of the season, but the first half of the season is when we have all of our American rounds before we take the trip across the Atlantic Ocean for the European second half. But yeah, Ben Brown in P9 with the recovery drive, having to make 2 pit stops. Nurinsky, who also had to make 2 pit stops, is not too far behind them in 11th place. They'll be trying to see if they can catch up to Uri Shore. But looking at the last laps, did gain 3 tenths, but 3 tenths is not going to be enough as we have just over 6 minutes left in the race. As you can see, nighttime has completely befallen the circuit for them for this race, though Daytona does have some lights to keep the track lit. Of course, we'll have the lights for the NASCAR races round the ovals, as they don't have any headlights. Instead, they have some pretend stickers. I have also just noticed Ben Brown, a second behind Falsetta now, closed in 1.8 seconds last lap. That could be P8 on the cards for Ben Brown in the dying stages of this race.
Could be indeed. Let's have a look at the lap times. And the last couple of laps, Ben Brown has been quicker than Falsetta in 8th position. Last lap gaining 1.8 seconds. And the gap is closing. Also got a gap closing for 16th and 17th. Bottleson getting back to Demlunk for 16th position. That's closing the last dying moments of this race. But apart from that, everyone's relatively spread out. Found a gap, got their head down, and just got racing. We've had some fantastic battles up and down the grid, let's not forget. Especially when we did get racing for the first 20-30 minutes. We'd have some cars clumped up on circuit, let's say, fighting for position, but now it's winding down. 5 minutes of reflection, let's say, Scotty, and what an amazing race it's been.
Yeah, we'll reflect while we also follow this battle. Falsetta, personal best lap last lap as they try and hold on to Ben Brown, responding to the pressure, trying to hold the Acura out of their slipstream, but doesn't seem like it's going to work. Ben closing up, and we'll have slipstream wobble for the McLaren as they try and put the power down out of turn 5. Ben would have been getting more flashbacks to earlier on in the race when they had to pit for damage after finding, I believe it was Nurinsky who spun in front of them. The McLaren moving around in front of them, and Ben Brown will have a whole full dose of slipstream round the oval, turn 7 towards the bus stop chicane. Is Ben waiting to try and get to the inside? No, the McLaren is going to hold the inside, forcing Ben to the outside. Will they go side by side? No. Ben early on the brakes into the bus stop. Will try and carry better line, get a better exit, and make a move towards T1. McLaren, a little bit more curb usage on the final part of the bus stop as they come round the second part of the oval. You can see Ben running a little bit higher. He's trying to wait for to get the momentum, waiting for the straighter part of the track, hoping that McLaren might let them have the inside, but the McLaren holds the apron. No choice then for Ben but to go to the outside. Only a few laps remain. It looks like they're going to have to try the outside of T1. Very difficult braking zone. Is going to be a very brave move. They come off the oval, very late on the brakes for the occur. The McLaren trying to hold the inside line on the tight line. They're not able to carry the momentum. And Ben Brown gets the move done for P8 round the outside in T1. Well done.
Move of the race. One of many, I do suspect, who did try to follow all the action on circuit, but we're glad we got that one on camera. That was fantastic.
Fantastic indeed. It is always brave going around the outside of T1, putting a lot of trust in your opponent to get their braking right. You know, they'll mess up from them, and they'll wiggle coming off the oval, and it could very easily end in tears, but this certainly didn't. As the McLaren staying quite tight to the inside, being respectful, making sure they didn't run up into the Acura. And yeah, good racing from the pair of them, good respect. And a great move from Ben to take P8. Next up the road is Daniel Chavez, 7.3 seconds. But a couple of laps ago, Chavez set their own personal best lap of the race. It's still in the 44s, so that's going to be a bit of an impossible task for Ben to catch in the remaining 2 minutes of the race.
I would imagine so. We are heading on to the penultimate lap. We are on the penultimate lap. As this man here, Alex Shahabi, Connexus Motorsport leading the way. We have seen these guys in Connexus race here on oNiD for quite a good few seasons now of iRacing, since we started at the start of this year. Familiar name to the community and a familiar team as well. Not got long left. One more lap to go after this one. It'll be their race win for the first round. And Scotty, I will ask you, because I've inevitably forgot to check, where are we next week? I know we've still got 2 minutes left.
Yeah, next week we continue our American portion of the league at Road America. Wonderful American circuit with its long straights in the first sector, more technical but still a quick and flowing middle sector. Yeah, very enjoyable circuit. And then after that we have Long Beach for our final American round, around the street circuit, as John Earl comes into the pits for the second time this race, right at the dying stages, unfortunately for them. I think that's a drive-through for them, giving up a few places. Yeah, Long Beach for a third round. Then we take the trip across the Atlantic over to Europe. We start with Silverstone, the home of British motorsports, before heading over to Germany for the Nürburgring GP circuit. And then we have the final race at the infamous Circuit de la Sarthe, home of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, as we see one final spin out of turn 6, this time for Ben Royal, who was in P6 at the time of spinning, loses a place to Daniel Chavez, who takes that 6th place because of that.
The close battle, Dynamos of this race as a buck marker, getting in the way, but Orlov trying to chase down Gambi for position. Not going to have much time to do it, because Alex Shahabi, I can tell you now, is halfway around his final tour of Daytona. 40 laps has been the race distance this evening for 70 minutes worth of racing for round 1, and we are moments away from announcing the race winner for round 106 here for oNiD Season 4. As we said, it is going to be Transatlantic. We've got America's first 3 rounds and then Great British circuits for the final 3 of the season. Gambi's managed to get past Orlov, or particularly Orlov made a mistake there, potentially, and has come to Cropper. But we will say congratulations, Alex Shahabi takes race win for round 1 of the oNiD SimHound GT3 Transatlantic Showdown. Carter comes second. Osbalston third. Watts will eventually come to see the checkered flag. Good 17.5 seconds behind P3. But no doubt a very good result for him. P4, Marley Watts. He's a checkered flag. Shouting 5th. Again, a good 18 seconds down. We are going to jump back down to 30th ever so quickly because there's a battle there happening as we speak. And we'll say, oh no, it was going to be a battle, but Orlov loses it on entry to the oval. Has a spin. And if there was going to be a battle down to the line, there certainly isn't going to be now. We go back up the order just a little bit to see Shoutin take P5. Chavez will take P6. Narnitz, who's actually quite close to a score off a position. Actually focus on this battle. There's Chavez, Royal, then Ben Brown, Alcetta, but Skura and Narnitsky all still up for grabs. Narnitsky and Slipstream go to the high side of the oval, but doesn't quite have the momentum. Has to back out as the wind. Actually, I think he's going out of fuel. He's slowing.
He is slowing indeed. Luckily for him, there's an 8-second back to Gamby in 12th, so will hold on to P11, but misses out on being able to take the final top 10 position. Scamby will come across the line in P12. Orlov will take 13th, and Charlie Morgan will be last of those on the lead lap and finishes in 14th position.
Amazing stuff, and it is your race winner, Anish Shahabi, who takes the win for round 1. And what a race it has been. And some donuts. Why not, sir? I'm glad we caught that on stream. Just a quick celebration there for Shahabi as we now go to race results. Now we have a look at what's happened this race. I'm going to just go back up and scroll up a little bit and go to a replay. Or should we have something in the background? But we will go to results very quickly. Shahabi takes the win from Shoutin. Devin Duck has a car sliding across the grass. Of course there is, as we finish the race. Thomas Wright, Daniel Chavez, Marley Watts, Victor Nolinsky, Ben Brown, Baktev, Holmes, Carter Stock, Kolodyaskini, Matt Cleaver, Orlov, Bottleston, Earl, Gamby for... That is the qualifying results, folks. I do apologise. Let's go to the race results, shall we? That would mightily help. Just realising, reading that, thinking, hold on a minute, that is incorrect. Haha. It's Shahabi takes one. That's better. Shahabi Carter, Obbleston, Watts, Shoutin, Chavez, Royal, Brown, Valletta, Scorer, your top 10. Narnitsky 11th, Gamby 12th, all of 13th, Morgan 14th, L 15th, Demon Leonard 16th. God damn it. I will go on these names eventually. Renard Bottleson 17th. Ben Holmes in 18th. Then go down to Alfie Flecken 19th. Terry 20th. Pifus 21st. Stock 22nd. Eva 23rd. Philip Staples 24th. Kozlov for 25th. Rich 26th. Thomason 27th. Koloduskany in 28th. And then Baktev Williams right and Morgan. And we've just had a couple of new followers. I saw Sonny WH1000XM3 joining the community. There's been a couple of other follows throughout this evening as well. Thank you all for your support. You may have not got a shout out, but your support has not gone unnoticed.
I feel like it's worth mentioning as well. Of course, this is the Transatlantic Showdown. First blood goes to Europe with Alex Shahabi in the Italian Ferrari 296. America, we take second place with Aidan Carter in the Corvette. Then we have two more Europes. The McLaren, Noah Obbleston with the fastest lap of the race as well in P3. Marley Watts in the Porsche taking P4. And Jana Shelton, we get a second American car into the top 5 with the Ford Mustang. 5 different manufacturers within the top 5, but Europe has certainly pulled out a lead, I would say, after this first round. We will get a full update on how the American standings are going, the European standings, the overall standings, and of course that in that transatlantic showdown battle between Europe and America is going at the start of next round. but it's
Indeed.
looking like Europe is taking a lead to begin with. Of course, it was a difficult race for a lot of drivers, a lot of mistakes up and down the field. I don't think that finishing order truly represents the pace order that our drivers have. And as we go to Road America next week, maybe we'll see some cars be a little bit stronger. We have some high speed corners. Think of the kink on the back end of Road America, the long right hander of the carousel, which will be challenging, but still some long straights that start finish straight, and the straight from turn 3 down to turn 5, I believe it is, quite long. We'll be testing the car's straight line speed, much like they were tested today. As we get to some more technical circuits later on in season, maybe we'll see the sort of balance switch amongst the GT3 class as the cars have their strengths and weaknesses across the calendar.
Listen, he was trying to get a replay at the race start. It wasn't letting me do it for some reason. But it was an amazing race, and what a way to kick off this first round of Season 4 here on oNiD. Folks, if you want to get involved, discord.gg/oNiD Community Racing. Pop that into your chosen web browser. That will take you to the Discord. Come and say hi to us. Come and pester us. It'll be a pleasure to see you all. And come and get involved. All our leagues this season actually are pretty much fully signed up, but do stay in touch with developments here on oNiD. Announcements coming, one-off events I'm sure will be had in due course. Another 5 weeks of amazing racing on a Thursday night, however, here on oNiD Community Racing. Next up is the Sunday night stream for round 1 of the GT3 MPG Championship on LMU.
No, that's our Monday series,
Monday,
which started earlier this week, which was very interesting. A surprise strategy won the race at Coda. But no, on Sunday we have season 2, or series 2 of our 100 series. Another series all based around strategy. It'll be an easy one-stop on fuel and energy round Coda National in the hypercars, but who will decide to change tyres? How many tyres will they change? And which of those strategies of how many tyres are changed will come out on top? You'll have to tune in on Sunday to find out, as our Pro and Am hypercar classes do battle for our first single class season of the 100 series. So yeah, make sure you join us on Sunday for that. Throughout the week, on Monday, we'll have the second round of our, as Ada mentioned, GT3 MPG, 65-minute races on the Mon Ultimate. Double fuel burn, hence the name 3 MPG. Strategy, big plays we've seen in the first week. How will that evolve into the second week? Make sure you come and see us. We head to Interlagos. Tuesday, we'll have our British Stock Car Series on the original Sao Corsa. We are heading to Castlecombe for the first of our sprint rounds. 3 20-minute races, the third being a full reverse grid on the results of race 2. So make sure you join us for the chaos of a potential sub 1 minute lap time. It'll be very chaotic then on Tuesday. And on Wednesdays, we have our LMU SimHound Academy. Newer and lesser experienced drivers test themselves with GT3 cars and hypercars. They'll also be heading to Interlagos as they try and learn the ropes, gain some experience and improve their racecraft. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see a 50-minute race for that on Wednesday before we return for round 2 of the Transatlantic Showdown at Road America. That is when we will see you next week.
Until then, folks, take care. It's been a pleasure. As we said, discord.gg/oNiD Community Racing. Come and pester us. Come and say hi. We'll hope to see you all very, very soon. Good night. Have a wonderful rest of the week. And don't forget, it's Friday tomorrow.